Okay.
Okay, we've been talking for a little while, and I turned record on because I hate that everybody's missing our general conversation here. So we'll just go ahead and pick up where we left off. Go ahead, Cheryl.
No, like I said, my husband passed away 6 years ago, and it was a rough time. He spent the last 3 weeks of his life in the hospital. He just never left, and then hospice stepped in, but he had to go to them, and he was gone within a day.
Oh, wow.
So it was a shock, but he had no life, and he was ready to go, but it was still.
How long were y'all married?
Oh my God. I've been with him. Well, we weren't married the whole time, but we've been together for 18 years. So yeah, it had been a long time.
And how long ago has that been? Like 5? How many years?
We were.
No, has he been gone? How long has he been gone?
Oh, he's been gone for 6 years in January. But he was young. He was only 55.
Well, makes you value what you have even that much more, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
What did that happen to him?
He had, you ever heard of scleroderma?
No.
Scleroderma is a skin disease, and it took the doctors a year to figure it out because his skin started turning real dark. But he had the worst type, and when you get it goes in and affects all your organs.
Oh.
So his lungs, his heart, and there was nothing. The doctor said he couldn't do anything,
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for sharing that, and it's a nice place to be, to feel that empathy from other people and to be able to actually.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I am sorry. When did Dick pass away?
Dick did not.
Oh, okay.
What's going on is that about 3 weeks ago, Marsha was.
I was there that night when she was so upset.
Exactly, and it's just from her worrying about Dick.
Yeah,
that was what the point was.
I thought something happened in the last few days.
No.
Thank goodness. Okay,
He's doing great.
It's actually gotten better, and Dick was doing better than Marsha. It was the caregiver who was struggling. And that was what I was talking about in terms of, we all talk about the caregiver and worry about her. We've talked about it in the previous challenges, but we actually got to see what happens when somebody is in that position.
It's bad. Stress and depression are really hard to get through.
And I was pushing myself with my job, with everything, trying to please everybody and not make it difficult for them. And meanwhile, I kind of let myself just hear me.
Another thing that you did, Marsha, is instead of accepting your limitations, because we all get them as we get older, you really were resisting them, and you were bothered with you couldn't function at the high level you have in your life. And that's one of the things as your age, if there's young people watching this, it's not going to last forever. All of us decline, and we all lose our superpowers. We just become normal people. If we had any high level function, it doesn't last forever. I'll tell you that for sure, because I experienced that. Anybody else experience that?
Yeah, you just have to slow down sometimes.
That's it. Take your limitation. I use paper for my memory.
Right.
Whatever it takes. I put things in the same place, or try to, so I don't have to go looking for them later. So we're going to do the same thing like we always do. We're going to do our little gathering of friends, and I loved last week when everybody did more than one. That was really cool. I like that. I don't know if that will go as well this week or not, but I use more than one if you want to. And we'll cover some things in the healthy games, and then I love the Beyond Your Biology, and we'll end it, of course, with our success story. So these are the unended sentences, and I always wait till I get here when I pick mine too. So everybody, let's go over. When I want to feel better, I always, and then I think of my mother every time I start to. My favorite memory of my father is, if money and time were not factors, I would. And what is on my heart and what I want to share is. Anybody ready?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead. I'm still looking.
Okay, my favorite memory of my father is on Sundays, my brother, my sister, everybody in the family would go over to my mom and dad's house, and he would go out back and barbecue ribs, spare ribs. He'd be out there cooking them on the grill, and he'd be sitting on this old block out there, with his cigarette. But yeah, he made the best ribs, and we always had a lot of fun out there. A good family memories.
Oh, that's nice.
That is
Yeah,
nice.
any other one you want to bite into? No?
I'll let someone else take a turn. Let me think about it.
Okay. Tony, unmute if you want.
I can go.
Who's next?
Okay. If money and time were no factor, I would spend 1 month in every state of the United States.
Yes.
Every place that I could think of in the United States. That would be something else, because we have so much in the United States to see, and people say, I'm going to Europe, I'm going to Africa. We got a lot more here to see that we haven't seen yet. So I would like to see every state, visit it for a month.
Yes. Oh, wow.
Wonderful.
That's a
Any
long
takers?
time.
I like that.
My favorite, Don, did you say you were ready? Don. I thought she said she was ready while ago. Maybe we lost her. Okay, I'll say that my favorite memory of my father is not one that is my memory, but it's a memory that was shared at his funeral, and it just explains everything about why I'm the way I am. And my brother, Lisa's dad, went with him on a job. My dad had a septic truck where he went and cleaned septic tanks. But he also worked in the coal mines all day. So when he would get off of the coal mines, he would go up where he park his truck, get in his septic truck, go do the septic tanks. Then he'd come back, get in his own truck, and come back home. And this one day he came back, and there was a guy siphoning gas out of his truck. He came right up.
Oh.
Yeah, when the guy was siphoning gas out of his truck. And Daddy got out of the truck, and he went over there, and he helped the guy get the gas. And he helped the guy put the gas in his truck. And then Daddy got Dickie, and he got in his truck, and he drove away. And Dickie said, he asked Daddy, he said, why didn't you say something? Why did you help him? And he told Dickie, he says, I figure he needed it more than I do.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the way I was raised, because that's the person who raised me. And I think that that has carried down through generations. All our kids have good hearts. Yeah. So that's the memory of my father that I cherish the most.
Beautiful. Wow.
Who's next?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Let's see. My favorite memory of my father is I was like in kindergarten or first grade or something like that, and he had just come home from Vietnam or something, and he came to my school, and he was in his dress uniform.
Oh, wow.
With his boots all shined, and just he's just handsome. I know, I might be prejudiced, but my dad's a handsome man. And when he walked in my classroom, I remember all the other little girls, just their eyes got big as saucers, and they were like, "That's your daddy?" And I was like, "Oh yes, that's my daddy."
That's great.
And I have another one. When I want to feel better, I always call my mommy. That would be
There you go. That's good.
that would be Aunt Connie, but I call her mom because she's my mommy.
Oh.
And my mommy always makes me feel better, no matter what it is. She always makes me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes she may cheer me up. Sometimes she may share a memory. Sometimes she may fuss at me and say, "Get over it." But she's always there for me and always knows exactly what I need. And I'm very blessed to have her, as are we all.
Agreed.
It
Agreed.
isn't always what she wants to hear. Who's next? I love it. Great stories.
I'll go next. I think of my mother every time I start to pull into the ice cream place behind our drugstore.
Mm-hmm.
That's when my mom and dad moved in with us and we went into town. We would go in once a month to buy groceries.
Oh.
And my mom loved Carvel's ice cream. And my car just automatically pulled in there. And one day, I don't know what I was thinking, and I went right by it. And my mom said, I can't believe you didn't stop. And I said, this dumb car is getting senile. Every time I think about soft ice cream and things, because she just so loved it. And it was a big highlight of our trip. And then my favorite memory of my father is I did a lot of canning and like that. And when my mom and dad were living with us, we had an open stairway up to the loft and then one down to the basement. And that's where I did all my canning. I had a kitchen and everything there. And my dad would go by the stairway and he would yell down to my girlfriend and me that he says, are my slaves busy working for me so that I have food for the winter? God love him. And when he died, I found 4 jars of blueberry jelly in the garage because he never wanted to run out of it.
Yeah. That's cool. How about you, Bird Mom?
Okay, it's not a bird story, but what's on my heart and what I want to share is for almost a month, one of my cats just disappeared.
Yes.
And he just wasn't anywhere. And he always comes home because he's used to living here and every night he comes home. And I was grieving for him. I was in full grief mode. And finally last week, I was outside with the dog and the other cats. And this thing comes running up on the driveway, meowing very weakly. And it was my missing cat. And I just was overjoyed. Just totally overjoyed.
I had just seen her at the gate. And we were really saying goodbye to it at the gate.
Yeah, yeah.
That was just amazing that the cat came home. I mean, that's another story of a success.
I know, and I remember thinking in my mind, like, if I had a choice whether to win the lotto or get my cat back, I said, I want my cat back. The money didn't matter. I just wanted my baby back.
So how is Slate?
He's being very visible now, very lovey-dovey. So.
Has he been back outside again?
No, he goes out, but he stays close to the house now, and he always lets me see him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So his behavior's different, huh?
Yeah. So I'm a very happy mommy. So.
What's your best guess of what happened to him?
I think he might have gotten locked up somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe in somebody's shed, because I know that he would come home if he was able to.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm just glad he's here. So.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
With a happy ending.
Yeah.
I think that's all of us now, right?
Yep.
That's in here? Good.
No.
Thank you. I enjoyed all of those stories. They just make me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So let me move the pictures out of the way. Who among us take time to go to the challenge wall? Anybody?
I do often.
Do you go to the challenge wall, Martha?
I do often not. As a matter of fact, I posted something the other day. I can't even remember what it was, but I posted something in reply to somebody else. And
anything about? I don't do the wall. I'm so busy with everything else. My time's concentrated in our room. I always mean to go do the wall, but for some reason I don't make it to the wall.
Quiet.
Anybody else do the wall much?
Quiet.
They're okay, Marcia.
Quiet.
I do sometimes.
Do you? What do you see on the wall? Would you give us a reason why we should make a better effort to go to the wall, or is there one?
Well, yeah, it's always, I don't know about anybody else, but I just am always tickled when somebody comments or replies to my posts So
Yeah.
because that makes me feel special. I know in our room, I try to go through all the posts every day and just enjoy them and comment. And right now I'm behind 2 days, so I'm like not happy because I enjoy it. But there's people in the wild there. I think there's people that maybe their rooms are not real active because the posts are deeper than just a generic, I did my walk today or I didn't have any soda today.
Yeah.
So it's nice sometimes just I don't spend a lot of time going all the way down through, but wherever it's at, I just try to encourage anybody that's looking for it.
Yeah. I like some of the stories sometimes. I do catch a story every now and then. I wish I did it more. I intend to. That's going to be my thing to improve. So the next challenge is going to be in August. That's so far away. I hate that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause this gets May, June, July. Yeah.
Yeah, that's our
More
next.
or less taking the summer off then.
Well, it isn't that. We have 4 years, so I suspect the last one will be August. So it'll probably be around the first of the year, probably be the next one. So, but I love these challenges, and they just make us better in between because we know more when we get through with one. For the sake of clarification, we're here tonight in our room Zoom. That is every Tuesday at 7:30. Meltdown and the leaders of Take Shape for Life, they come together and put together best coaching that I have been exposed to, and now available to you if you just show up. And I think several people in here can speak to that. Or if you can't, it is posted in the room. Following the client support is a training session for health coaches and a learning experience for anyone curious about health coaching. For me, I feel like I'm being coached. I love those after the Zoom, the coach training that they do. You get points for watching either Zoom. You don't have to watch the Zoom that Meltdown Challenge puts on. If you watch or participate in the Zoom that's for the room, you just go ahead and take those 25 points that's there for the Meltdown Challenge Zoom. You don't have to do both. It's an either or. Both of them will serve you well, but don't feel like you have to do both of them. Who in the room goes to the Meltdown Challenge Zoom? Anybody?
I do.
Marcia?
I do.
Yeah. And I know Dorothy does. Who else do we have here?
I went and watched I did that. I watched the recording.
Oh, that's good. So anybody want to make any comments on that for the people who are not watching to either do it if you have time, do it recorded, or it doesn't matter. They're not that good. What's the feeling in the room?
I absolutely love them, and I love how this is I think my 4th challenge, but that's just an added element that makes this so much more beneficial for me. But I think they do an excellent job, and the stories that they share they're not repetitive of what you're getting out of the challenge. They're outside the parameters of the other training in the challenge, so you just gain more insight. And I really like them, and I think they're doing an outstanding job. So I would encourage everybody, if you're not watching the live recording, to watch the recording, because it's really uplifting, and I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, it's excellent. High level. Anybody else want to add? Okay. Lisa kind of said it all, didn't she?
She did. Good.
Can't really add to that. So now we're in the 4th week, and this week I think that's I can't wait to hear what they have to say about being in the healthier community. And then, like Lisa said, if you can't attend it live, it's right there for you to watch at your leisure. If anyone doesn't get their points for attending a Zoom or watching a Zoom, it's just a matter of contacting Meltdown Challenge, and they'll add those points to your total. So let's go to Beyond Your Biology. This week is going to be the principles of nutrition. So I don't think I activated the sound. Let me do this again. Ooh, no.
I'm really loving this beyond biology too. I'm just learning so much. I can put it into everyday life. I'm learning so much.
I do too, you know, and I went through the course, but through the course is different from sitting and being able to digest it with other people and really internalize it. So here we go. Make sure you hear it. If you don't, let me know.
There is so much confusion out there in the world of nutrition, and I think the public response to this is that people throw up their hands and say, well, it doesn't matter, you may as well just eat anything because, you know, they told us butter was bad and now it's good and low-fat diets don't work. In fact, I think there's a great deal of agreement among nutrition researchers on the big questions, such as what are good fats, what are bad fats, what are good carbs, what are bad carbs. In terms of carbohydrate, the question is how quickly carbohydrate foods raise blood sugar. Because whenever you have spikes of blood sugar, you are increasing the inflammatory process in the body. There's a big difference between a whole grain and a pulverized grain. In a whole grain, the starch is tightly compacted. And it's very hard for digestive enzymes to get in there and break that down into sugar and raise blood sugar. It takes a long time. When you mill a grain into flour, whether or not the bran is present or the germ is present, you convert the starch into a material that has almost infinite surface area, and it's a snap for digestive enzymes to turn that into sugar and raise blood sugar. So I think this is a very important distinction that people need to make, because you know, most of the things we make from flour, bread, pastries, all the crackers, chips, pretzels, you know, all that stuff, this has a very powerful impact on blood sugar and promotes inflammation. There's also, I think, increasing research on the particular hazards of sugar. And while I don't think it's possible to live without sugar, we like sweet things, I think it's really important to learn how to moderate consumption. The place that I would start is with trying to not drink sweetened liquids. If we could just get people in our population not to drink sweetened liquids, we'd be so far ahead of the curve. It's not just soda, it's also fruit juices, because fruit juices are very different from fruit. It's a much more concentrated sugar source. Energy drinks, it's putting sugar in coffee and tea and all that. That would be a good place to start. The other great myth that I run into is that people don't understand the difference between fruit and fruit juice. Fruit juice is a concentrated sugar source. The new research coming out about sugar is very disturbing. If you're not familiar with it, you should look up the work of Robert Lustig, pediatric endocrinologist at UC San Francisco. He has a book out called Sugar, the Bitter Truth. His research has focused on fructose. Our bodies cannot metabolize fructose. It is toxic to the liver. It deranges liver metabolism. It leads to a whole cascade of metabolic changes, include insulin resistance, another major driver of obesity. All sweeteners contain fructose to one degree or another. Table sugar is half fructose. Agave syrup, which was touted a few years ago as being a great natural alternative to other sweeteners, is sometimes 85% fructose, much more than high fructose corn syrup. You want to eat as little fructose as possible, and that probably means moderating intake of sweeteners of all kinds. I've been very puzzled as to the rise of gluten sensitivity in our population. It seems strange to me that a grain, you know, wheat, that has sustained human life for thousands of years should suddenly become a problem for many people. Though there is celiac disease is a very well-known entity in which gluten is toxic. There's also wheat allergy, which we can test for. We can't really test for gluten sensitivity. It's a patient-driven diagnosis, and I think some of this in our culture today is faddish. You hear somebody's done away with gluten and they feel better, and you try going gluten-free. But there's no question that there are many people that find if they eliminate gluten that they feel better, that weight drops off, that health problems disappear. Why this should be is peculiar. I have made a number of trips to China in recent years. In any Chinese restaurant, you can order gluten as a protein. They have sweet and sour gluten, gluten with black bean sauce. I asked a lot of Chinese people about gluten sensitivity, and I get blank stares. They've never heard of it. And this is true in Japan as well. So the question is, why is this particularly happening in North America? Now, I don't know the answer to it, but I would bet money that this has to do with changes in the microbiome. This is, I think, one of the great frontiers of medical thinking today. We're really finding that the organisms that we have within our GI tract are major determinants of our health and our environmental sensitivities. I think we're just at the beginning of understanding all of this. But, we have more bacterial cells in us than human cells, and we have much greater bacterial DNA than we have human DNA, so we're kind of a hybrid organism. And there is reason to think that the microbiome, or it's called the microbiota also, in our population has changed drastically in the past 40 or 50 years. And there are 4 factors that are responsible for that. The first is the incredible overuse of antibiotics. The second is the increasing consumption of industrialized food-like substances. It's been said that our great-grandparents wouldn't even recognize as food what most people eat today. And that stuff fosters the growth of very different kinds of organisms than whole natural foods do. The third factor, less obvious, is the rise in cesarean delivery, which is now at an astounding rate of, I think, 1 of 3 births in this country is done by C-section, and often mostly for convenience, not for any medical reason. The gut of the fetus is sterile, but as soon as babies are born, it gets colonized with microorganisms. When babies are born vaginally, the organisms that colonize the gut come from the birth canal. And the organisms that colonize the gut are there for life. I mean, that really sets the pattern. When babies are born by cesarean delivery, the organisms come from the mother's skin, and it's a totally different population. And the fourth factor is decline in breastfeeding. Breast milk has unusual carbohydrates in it that are indigestible by human beings. Well, what are they doing there? You'd think evolution would have weeded these out if they served no purpose. They are prebiotics that stimulate the growth of some organisms to the exclusion of others. So when you look at all these 4 things together, I think it is a very reasonable assumption that the human microbiome has changed enormously in recent years. I think that's going to turn out to be the explanation for the rise in allergy and autoimmunity, in ADHD, maybe in autism, maybe in many other conditions, and I think gluten sensitivity is one of those. Another factor that may be involved is a toxic compound called glyphosate. That's the main ingredient in Roundup, the herbicide. As Roundup-ready GMO crops have become more widely planted, there is a tremendous increase in the application of Roundup in the environment. And this compound glyphosate significantly alters the microbiome. It's non-toxic to human cells, but it's toxic to many bacteria. So it may kill off a lot of the organisms in the gut, and they're replaced by others, and that may also shift the sensitivity in the direction of gluten. There's some people who are gluten sensitive find that if they go to countries like Italy or France and they eat wheat products, they aren't bothered. And so this is why some people think, maybe that's the reason, because glyphosate is not used in Europe. Caffeine is a strong stimulant. It's a drug, and different forms of it are different. I think the stimulant effect of tea is different from that of coffee. Of all the caffeine beverages, coffee is probably the strongest, and it's the one that's most associated with addiction. There's a great range of individual response to caffeine. I know people that have insomnia who drink 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and that's the cause of their insomnia at night, and they don't realize that. I see other people who drink 4 pots of coffee a day and have no such effect, and even can drink coffee late in the evening and have no disturbance of sleep. So there's a big range of individual variability in response to it. I see caffeine intake, and coffee in particular, being a common cause or aggravating cause of conditions that people complain about, whether it's insomnia, heart arrhythmias, anxiety, circulatory disturbances, GI problems, bladder problems. And the only way you find this out is if you eliminate the caffeine and then add it back. And in many cases, that's the factor. But I think, for many people, moderate intake of caffeine is fine. If you are a major caffeine user, I think it's worth finding out if you are physically addicted to it, and the easiest way to do that is just to stop and see what happens. If you get a throbbing headache, that's the principal symptom of caffeine withdrawal. With alcohol, I think many people use this for relaxation, and I think relaxation is beneficial. Alcohol is also directly toxic to the liver and nervous system, so it's really a balance of good effects and harmful effects. I think the key to using alcohol wisely is moderation, and that may mean not drinking it every night. For some people, it may mean drinking it relatively rarely. We know that for many women, alcohol intake, even minimal alcohol intake, increases risk of breast cancer, and they should be very careful of that. But I think for many of us that drinking moderately, this is socially enjoyable. It's something that people like and get relaxation benefits from. It also, alcohol may have some specific healthful effects on the circulatory system. It raises good cholesterol somewhat, improves circulatory function. Nutrition should be very personalized. We're individuals. We're all products of particular cultures, and I think it's very difficult to make generalizations that apply to everyone. I do think you can say that it's desirable for people not to eat refined, processed, and manufactured food. I think it's good to tell people that they should eat more whole, natural foods, that it's good to eat plenty of vegetables and herbs and spices and fruits, and to keep animal products, to moderate consumption of animal foods. I think those are good general principles. Beyond that, I think it's a very much an individual matter, and people have to experiment to see what agrees with them. Many people have food intolerances, and the only way you find that out is by systematically leaving something out and adding it back, and see if you can make correlations with symptoms. Many people in our culture eat too much protein, and a very high protein intake is hard on the kidneys, it's hard on the liver. I think it is better to be moderate in protein consumption. Dense protein, especially animal protein, does not have to be the centerpiece of a meal. I think it is desirable to learn to eat more vegetable protein than animal protein. And when you look at the categories of vegetable protein, beans and especially soy are one of the best. There's been a great deal of misinformation and I think disinformation about soy in our culture. A lot of very fearful stuff on the internet, for example, about soy causing cancer or feminization of male children. I really don't think there's any basis to that. The epidemiological evidence on soy, especially from large populations in East Asia and Japan and China, is very reassuring, that populations that eat whole soy foods regularly have much lower incidence of hormonally driven cancers, breast cancer in women, prostate cancer in men. Now that's whole soy foods, and by whole soy foods I mean edamame, soy nuts, tempeh, tofu, soy milk. I don't mean fake hot dogs where the first ingredient is soy isolate or isolated soy protein. I don't mean soy supplements. I don't mean functional foods that are spiked with soy isoflavones. We have no information on the safety of those things. But I think that moderate, regular consumption of whole soy foods is very desirable. The earlier in life that you start this, I think the greater cancer protection that you get. In females, this influences the development of breast tissue up through puberty. In men, I think it really influences prostate development as well. We don't know if a woman has never eaten soy all her life and suddenly starts eating it in midlife. We don't know how much protection that she gets from that. And it's also possible that some people metabolize soy differently from other people. But I think the overall message is that moderate, regular consumption of whole soy foods is not only safe, but desirable.
All right.
That was very good.
Yeah, there's a lot to be learned there, huh?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Anybody have any takeaways on that we want to share real quick?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you know when he was talking about sugar, where the Truvia and stevia fit in the fructose, or is that something I need to look at?
I would have to look at that myself. Everything I heard him talk about was, I got a pencil here. Let me stop this. Get rid of my pencil. Everything I was in the class, so I got the lecture as well. And none of that was mentioned. But I think that would be worth looking. I had the thought, but there were so many people in this class. There was thousands of people in this class. So I never tried to get on the line or ask questions or anything. I just participated and listened. Um, but I think that's an excellent question. So maybe we can do some work on it as well.
Years ago, my mom was a diabetic, and she went to a new doctor, and he was asking her different questions. And he asked her about, her consumption of water and like that. And she said that she drank diet soda, and he asked her what kind, and she said Chaska. And back at that was the one that they were using some of these new artificial sugars.
Yeah.
And he said, I would rather see you drink a regular cola than to drink a diet soda.
Wow.
He said he thinks it was when Tab first started.
I remember that.
You remember Tab? And he
Yes.
said, and he actually said that he would rather see her drink regular soda than to drink the diet sodas because the artificial sugars.
It's the aspartame in
Fool your body into thinking, and stuff. So I don't drink diet. If I'm going to drink a soda, it's a regular one, and I don't drink soda anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
it's the aspartame in diet soda that makes it so harmful. And there's been research, and there's been a lot of practical instances of people that, like, say for instance, drink nothing but diet soda that have gotten really, really ill, and all they had to do was leave off the diet soda and their conditions improved.
so let's go to our success story.
What's the matter?
Wow.
Oh, do y'all hear that? You can hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. Look at that smile.
Wow.
Wow, huh? And that's our
That's great.
celebration for
I
tonight.
like that.
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah. Well, we've seen so many of them, you know.
I think that's got to be my favorite success story of all time right there so far.
I like that.
Yeah. Anybody have anything they want to contribute now?
Life, I needed to make the change.
Yeah. Is that it? We're done?
That's a good note to end on.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
And I really enjoyed seeing everybody tonight, and thank you for coming.
Oh, you're
And
welcome.
everybody that watches it tomorrow, hope you enjoy it.
Okay.
All right.
Night all.
All right. Good night, all.
Thanks, everyone.
Right.